Hi everyone, it's Mary from A Passion for Paper shop. I'm here today to share with you how I make these scrappy notepads, which are a great addition to any journal. So I wanted to show you a sample of a couple scrappy notepads that I have made already, and these are available in my shop. I have an Etsy shop called A Passion for Paper shop, link in the bio. So here we have the top, you can see is sewn. I always sew something across the top. And then there's just a variety of scrappy papers that have all been coffee and tea dyed. So they have that wonderful patina. Some of them also have this beautiful stenciling. And I just like to create them in sets of 3. This is some vintage music sheet with delightful foreign language text in there. And some of the pages are quite grungy, which is another aesthetic that I enjoy. And then the last page, we can turn it over and see there's some lovely pattern on that. This one, I have the inspirational word hope, and I also have those available in my shop, just pages of words that you can rip apart and coffee dye and tea dye, which is what I've done here. And then all of the different assortments of papers, and I have a few more words down in here. And as you can see, the papers are all different sizes and shapes and colors, even though most of them appear in this waterfall pattern, which I think is very aesthetically pleasing. And I love the messy stitching there in the top. You can kind of see it more in the back. I always leave these beautiful threads hanging off as well. And here's the third one in this set. And this one has some vintage French book page torn and put on the top with some coffee dyed lace and trim. And then some of that same beautiful music sheet, vintage original papers, and some grungy papers, stencil lace, and some more of those wonderful words. And then the person could actually rip these off and use them to make a cluster or put them elsewhere in their journal. So I love to have all the different scrappy pieces, all with their delightful grunginess and tea stained, coffee stained goodness, so that they can be further utilized either as a notepad that somebody could take notes on or write things in, or to rip pages off and use them in other projects. So this is the completed set of 3 scrappy notepads, just to give you an idea. Oh, I did want to show you I make them in different sizes as well. So I thought these were just so darling. I made tiny little itty bitty ones. Just to give you an idea of the size difference there. You can see they basically have all of the same things with the sewing on the top, the messy stitching in the back, and then a variety of papers in this waterfall kind of style. So these could go into a small journal. And so I love all the different sizes. Here's another one that's a little bit taller than these littles, but not as tall as the average ones that I make. And I'll show you the dimensions once we get into the tutorial part. Here's some really small ones. You can see these are almost 2. So these are great for those shorter journals. And again, sorry, I'm a little bit out of frame there. So here you can see these are almost, this one's almost square as opposed to a rectangle. And so the last one I want to share is this very long one, which probably won't even be able to see the whole thing because it's so long. It's a tall, skinny journal, and this is on the front of it. So I actually sewed the Scrappy Notepad onto the front cover, and this is a fun, tall, skinny journal that I've been working with. And just to give you a sneak peek in there, I just think it's so pretty with the Scrappy Notepad as the cover. So that was really fun to put together, and it's very long. And again, though, same kind of pattern of the waterfall style, and some some machine stitching at the top, hand dyed fabric and lace. And so let's go ahead and make some of these together. So if you want to craft along with me, grab some coffee dyed papers. And I usually like to prepare ahead of time by ripping a bunch of papers into the size that I'm going to be making. So for these, and this is my kind of go-to size that I make a lot of. Most of them are 3 inches or less across. You can see this one is a little less. Let me move it over. Oh no, this one's exactly 3. Okay, so these are all 3 inches across. I do have, I think some of my samples were a little bit different than that, but I fold down the top, and I try not to ever go over. I don't want them to make them too tall so that they will fit in a variety of journals. So I usually go right around 7 inches. Let me see if I can show that. So 2, 4, 6. So this is actually more than 7. 2, 4, 6, 7. So it's a little more than 7.5, but it's not quite 8. Okay, so the first step is to get those dimensions of paper, and you can just rip them or cut them however you like the edges. I do a variety, and then I just fold down the top. And this one, I actually have this beautiful stamp from Sam Poole at the bottom. I think that's so pretty, and I just want to make, I like to do them in sets of 3 for some reason, so I just have 3 that are similar to get us started. And then I kind of just look and see what other papers I have and some examples of things that I like to do. Here's some papers that I have torn in approximate sizes. This is a original French document that I purchased from Crafty Paper Bits, and then I took copies of it and I coffee dyed it, so it's beautifully grungy here. And then I just kind of audition and see which one it's going to look the best in. And then I kind of tear off parts to make sure the sizes are where I want them. So obviously I'm going to cut or tear these so that they don't hide the beautiful stamp at the bottom. And I just kind of try out a few different ones and see what I like the best. But I do like to have some of the same types of papers in this set of 3. So for these, if I was going to use these, and to me the colors are a little bit too different, so I'm going to audition these instead. I have these, which is a same type of deal, an authentic French document that I got from France, and then I copied it and coffee dyed it and ripped it into these shapes. So I like these. And let's see what else I have. So here's just some coffee dyed paper that I have stamped, again with a date from that same Sam Poole set of stamps, which I absolutely love. And then I kind of try to let things peek out. So for example, here I'm letting that text come out on the side. And I like to try to put, like this one, obviously I'm going to rip because I don't like them to be exactly the same height. might turn it different ways and just see. Then you lose some from the top, so that's a consideration. I'm gonna just let that sit there for a minute. Oh, and the other thing that I like to do is I put these little clips on the top so that when I go to rip them, I know exactly the length I'm ripping the bottom. So I put these little clips on while I'm creating the pads. Okay, you could also use paper clips. So for this one, now I don't want to rip the bottom because then I'm going to rip the date off. So I'm actually going to just kind of estimate where I want that to end. And then I just cut the top off. And an easy way to do that is just turn it over and cut it right along there. And then tuck it up underneath. Test it out. Yes, I do like that. Okay, then this one I'm just going to tear since the date is up higher. I'm not going to lose it. So look and see if there's anything there that I want. And just kind of rip that along the bottom. And then this one, I was thinking of trying one of these other papers. I have some with the date like that. So I kind of like the way that looks. So again, I just turn it over once I get the height in mind of what I like. Now this paper I can use near the top of one of these scrappy pads. That way it will still have the same color tone, which is kind of fun, and that ties it together. In fact, I might just put it over here. I do want to have some torn edges. Now I like to leave this edge on if I can, because as you can see, that gets that beautiful color from the tea and coffee dye process. So I'm just going to rip part of that off and then tuck it under here. In addition, where I like that to be. Kind of like it showing that peak of color, so then I'm just going to rip it down the side as well. Something like that. And then I'm just looking for some more papers. Now I like to put in a variety of papers. Music sheet, lined paper, authentic book page. So I have some of these torn music sheets that these are wonderful when they have that little fringe on the edge. So I'm going to try some of these. Okay. Sometimes I do use a ruler and I just tear them across as well. It's just really whatever you're in the mood for. Today I guess I'm using my scissors. So that looks nice. And then this one, I think I'm going to tuck it underneath. And a lot of times, you know, I'll just keep changing things up. Like at one point, oh, I like this showing. At another, I might say, well, actually, I think this looks better. And just kind of, you know, be flexible to see what works best. This is a little tricky. I think I'm just going to have to cover up that date. I could put it upside down because I kind of like how that looks. I just hold on to that idea. And then I have some of these just torn lined paper pieces that have also been coffee and tea dyed. So I'm going to see if I could get some of these in here. I think these would look nice at the back. So I'm going to just stick that in there and see. Sometimes you have to kind of work with it to make sure it's straight. There we go. And then I think I'm going to tear this and see exactly where the stamp is. That's kind of cute. It's almost like it's peeking out from under there. Okay, I'll put another lined one in this. This one's a little too big, so I'm just going to tear it down some. Oh. Okay. We are going to tear that off, and then I will have to tear this one a little bit so I can see the one underneath it. Okay. I love the way those torn ends look. So that's good. And then kind of like that tone. So I'm also thinking about, you know, do I want it darker? Do I want it lighter near the bottom? Sometimes I'll cut it with a scissor too if I want it to be straight. I'll try one of these with the scissor. Actually, I think I'm going to cut it at the top. So let's see how this would look. So I'm estimating where I want it to fall, right above that. So then that's going to mean cutting it right there. Sometimes I end up spinning them around and turning them upside down too. So that's another option. Ooh, that's looking real nice. Okay. So what other papers? I would really like to have, I got music page, a digital, some stamped paper. I think some vintage French book page. So I have this, I pulled out this paperback book, which I found at a bookshop, and it's published 1936. I just love that. And what's interesting is it has these blue edges. So when I'm getting ready to do a blue journal, I will let those blue edges stay, but for now just tear out. I have a couple pages already out of here, but just tear a couple out, and then I decide, do I want to have it going this way or do I want to have it going this way? Sometimes I like to show the so I'll probably do some of each. So let's just try this one, and I am going to tear off that little blue thing because it's not really going with the vibe I'm looking for here, which is neutral. And so I'm going to just tear off that blue section. And it's fun. I have other books very similar to that have yellow along this edge or red. Something about the books they printed in France during that time period. They all have these little colorful stripes along the edge, which is very interesting. Okay, so for this one, let's see, maybe in here. Now I want to see the title, so I think that looks very cool. Campagna. Okay, so for this one, I'm gonna have this one going sideways. And then this one, I think we'll try it going up and down. So decide what side I want. I kind of like the page number to be in there, although you won't see it because it's going to be hidden under this, so you don't need to worry about that. So let's go ahead and this looks really nice, peeking out the sides a little bit with that rough edge, so it's that shabby chic look going on over here. Then this one, I think I will just pull out a little ruler and rip this. Okay, so that looks nice, and then we'll just rip up the bottom here. Might have to rip this again because now I'm not seeing all of the pieces. So I like how this looks and that. So what I'm going to do is tear this one a little higher because I want to be able to see some of each of the pages because that gives visual interest. And then we'll do, I want to make sure we see some of French words on the book page, so we'll do that. So here's how this one's coming along. And then let's get some book page in the third one. So I could use the other half of the first one. Let's see how this looks. I like that. That was easy. So nice. Okay, so here's back to our 3. We need a few more pages. Let's see. I think we could use, oh, I have some French and English dictionary page, which I think would look fun in here. So let's go ahead and pull some of this out. And I love the way this paper is so thin and old. This is a vintage dictionary. So let's try this out. Now, sometimes I like to peek at the words and see if there's something really awesome. And if there is, then I can put that, like just a little piece right there. It's kind of something special. Ooh, if I had gâteau, that might be fun. It's here, cake. Oh, look at that. Okay, so I'm gonna rip this out. Although I have to be careful now. I don't want to get it below this. See, I want gâteau because that's the French word for cake. Twelfth night cake, gâteau d'ivoire. Okay, so let's see if I can get this torn out of here. We have to figure out where we want it. I want it to appear just below this part. So it has to be ripped up to here to fit underneath there. Okay, so let's do that. And then, I don't want gate in there, so I'm gonna just take a little bit more off. Maybe I'll do the side one first. Okay, and then maybe if I just took off a snip, a little snip. Okay, yes, now I can hide that word gate, which had a negative meaning, and then we'll see gâteau. That's nice. Okay, now we need to make it look a little bit better. And again, reading the French words, it's a little tricky. Some of them I don't know what they mean, and then it's just like, oh, I hope that's not offensive. Some of them I do know what they mean, so like I thought that was so fun to find